Morning. There we go. Brand new stadium. We're trying to work on that sound system. Yeah. It's an incredible honor to be here today and to welcome you to the new Dorrance Field. So congratulations to Anson. It's absolutely fantastic. So today's dedication is about celebrating the legacy that Anson has built here at the University of North Carolina. And I can tell you my first experience with Anson and the women's soccer program is actually back in 2012 when I flew out to San Diego and I arrived fairly early in the morning and I got to the locker room just in time to hear him give a pregame talk to the team in honoring their seniors and what they were playing for that day. And I get goosebumps still today when I think about the speech that he gave. But in addition to that, what I saw a lot of the women wearing at that time were wristbands. And all of the students were dedicating that game to his wife, Melissa, who had a health issue she was working through at that point. And they came out and played inspirational soccer, won the national championship, and it really struck me that he had such an incredible ability to motivate, but to give them a reason to play beyond themselves, something unique, something special, which is why we have this special occasion now to honor somebody that has built an incredible legacy for the University of North Carolina. And Anson, we could not be more proud of you, we could not be more proud of your students, and this will be a wonderful day to celebrate the naming of the field for you. There are an awful lot of people that I would like to thank before we get to the formal presentation of the field dedication. But I do want to thank our donors. Our team is down here seated underneath the shade. We have some seniors behind me that are incredible, and they'll have a role later in this program as well. But first, I'd like to recognize Kathleen and Gary Loveman for their leadership on this project. Thank you, Kathy and Gary. Additional thanks to those who have contributed to this naming opportunity: John and Marie Townsend, Ward and Julia Marslander, Todd and Lori Pope, James H. Smith Jr., Walter and Marjorie Buckley, Don Williams, Ed and Janice Story, Jim and Susan Sigmund, Buck and Susan Buckley. All of their names appear on a plaque on the back side of the press box. Thank you for your generosity in making this happen today. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize our architects, CRA Associates, our contractors, Clancy and Thays Construction Company and TA Loving Company, and of course the members of our great facilities crew, including Mike Bunting, Rick Steinbacher, and Richie Grimsley. Without all of those folks, none of this would happen, and I appreciate all their hard work and dedication to this great facility. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our chairman of the board, Richard Stevens.
I am Richard Stevens, and I am a Tar Heel. On behalf of the entire Board of Trustees, it's an honor to be here today to celebrate the dedication of our new soccer and lacrosse field on behalf of Coach Anson Dorrance. For the past 40 years, we've watched Coach Dorrance play a pivotal role in the growth and really unrivaled success of our women's soccer program. Coach Dorrance laid the foundation for women's soccer at Carolina in 1979. This is unbelievable. His teams have won over 1,000 collegiate college games. And he has been named National Coach of the Year, not once, not twice, but 7 times, and was inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame in 2008. But beyond his record-breaking accomplishments, Coach Dorrance has been an advocate and role model for our student athletes. Under his guidance, 19 different Tar Heels have won National Player of the Year, and many of his players have played on the international stage, representing the United States and other countries in multiple World Cups. He supported athletes throughout their careers at Carolina, celebrated their graduations, and stood by them through their own life journeys. It's really hard to imagine Carolina without Coach Dorrance and our dominant women's soccer program. Coach, on behalf of our board and the entire Carolina community, thank you for your remarkable leadership. I'd also like to thank the donors here today who have made this field dedication and the continued success of Carolina athletics possible. Your unwavering support is appreciated by our entire board of trustees. Now I'd like to introduce someone to you who stepped up back in February to lead our university during a time of transition. Someone has done an absolutely outstanding job in that role. I'd like to bring to the podium Interim Chancellor Kevin Guskowicz.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks to all of you for being here this morning. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here celebrating Tar Heel legend, Coach Anson Dorrance. In 1997, UNC basketball coach Dean Smith was asked by a reporter about our reputation as a basketball school. Coach Smith responded, "This is a women's soccer school. We're just trying to keep up with them." After 22 overall national championships and over 1,000 collegiate wins, it's hard to disagree with Coach Smith. Simply put, Carolina's women's soccer program is a dynasty, and its unparalleled triumphs are owed to the one and only Anson Dorrance. Coach, well, yeah, let's... Coach, has already been mentioned, but not only have you built a world-renowned program from the ground up, but you've molded the future of women's soccer. From Mia Hamm and Carla Overbeck to Crystal Dunn and Heather O'Reilly, you have trained hundreds of players who serve as role models to generations of young athletes. You are not just a coach, as Richard's already mentioned, you are a lifelong mentor. While you care about your students' athletes' success on the field, you first and foremost prioritize their character and their academics off the field. As many of you know, I asked Anson to speak to this year's class of 2023 convocation as the keynote speaker. Nobody gives a better pregame pep talk than Anson Dorrance, and I thought who better to do that than for our incoming first-year students. During his speech, Anson shared that what we understand during our time at Carolina is how to construct our own character and blaze our own path. Anson is an incredible coach because he does just this. He teaches our student athletes to blaze their own path and build their character. For all of this, Coach Dorrance, on behalf of the entire Carolina community, we thank you. I'd like to also thank the donors, and especially Kathleen Welsh and Gary Loveman for their leadership, as well as our supporters who contributed to this field naming today. It's now my pleasure to lead the official unveiling of the stadium signage. If you could please direct your attention across the field, where we have several of our seniors on the team who are going to help us. Now, by the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, I hereby dedicate Dorrance Field. Congratulations, Coach Dorrance. This is an honor which is greatly deserved, and we are proud of that your name will forever be synonymous with Carolina's women's soccer program. Please take the podium.
There's this idea that as we grow into adulthood, we're all looking for what we are missing as children. I actually talked about this during the convocation when I was sharing some of Mia Hamm's remarks about her experience here. And what I loved about what Mia said is she said, you know, I didn't come here to win national championships. I wanted to belong somewhere. Mia was basically a kid that traveled all over the place with her family and never really had a home. And I'm the same way. I was born in Bombay, India. At the age of 3, my family moved to Calcutta. From there to Nairobi, Kenya. From Nairobi, Kenya to Addis Ababa. From there to Singapore, Malaysia. Then from there to Brussels, Belgium. I was sent to a Swiss boarding school. And then I finally came to college in the United States. In between these 3-year stints, we'd spend 6 months on a tobacco farm in Lewisburg, North Carolina. So this was my home state. When I finally got here, I knew I belonged. Since 1970, my entire life has been spent between Teague Dorm and the law school I dropped out of right over there, and this field that my blood has been poured into. In fact, in the old days when we sort of dedicated our own ceremony for the field, I'd come out here, I'd be in shorts, of course, and I would show my team this chicken bone scar I have on my kneecap, because in the old days when they played football games over there, we would not just practice here, but they would park their cars here before football games, and as tailgaters, of course, they would be throwing their chicken bones all over the field. On this particular practice day, I looked down and there's this chicken bone sticking in my kneecap. So my blood is actually out there on the field. I want to take this opportunity in this public forum to publicly thank so many different people. I certainly want to start with the whole legacy of remarkable players that have committed their lives to this university and playing for me. Certainly some of the great male players that played for me. They were a part of my initial legacy. In fact, a pair right here, Derek Amissimo and Dave Marola, that were allowed me to retire gracefully at some of the greatest men's teams I've ever coached. I also want to share, obviously, the legacy of remarkable young women that have been a part of the program. And this is really cool, and I do want to say this. I mean, how often during any sort of ceremony can you look out and find a Nobel laureate there celebrating? So Aziz Sanjar, thank you for being a part of this wonderful ceremony. I also want to thank, obviously, Buck and Susan, Walter and Marjorie. They were trying to figure out ways for the longest time to make this happen. We didn't want to interfere with the track coaches that were here because obviously, long term, we wanted to move the track facility, but your support from the beginning has been absolutely heartfelt. I also want to let everyone know that this thing is absolutely spectacular. So Kathy Welsh and Gary Loveman, I mean, we can't even call this thing Dorrance Field because all of us call it the Palace. And that's the way we think about it, because holy cow, have we evolved. I mean, the original office I had was the closet for Paul Doty, a lacrosse coach we had here back in the day. That was actually my second office, as Moyer Smith reminded me. My first office was the corner of Donna, his secretary's desk. And now I have this office up there that's actually nicer than Gary Loveman's office, which is extraordinary. How can the donor give me a nicer place to work than the place where he works? So Gary, it's just unbelievable. I can't believe the place I get to walk into every morning. And as you can see, this is absolutely unbelievable. I really enjoy everything about it. So thank you very much. I also want to thank Bubba Cunningham. I mean, he took a huge risk on this. He's, I think, in hock for, is it 90 million, Bubba? Is that what we've borrowed for this? And it's certainly not just this facility. It's also the extraordinary IPF, which is a facility all of us get to use on top of the football complex. He took the field hockey stadium, which was a part of the original football training ground, and moved it to Ehringhaus Field, and that's also an extraordinary palace. And so the gamble he's taken to obviously pay for these things, and then the poor man who has to pay for them, John Montgomery, I see you over there. I see him stooped over. because he not only has scholarship responsibilities every year to pay for the student athletes, but now he has a huge debt relief. So John, thank you for jumping in with both feet, and I appreciate your contributions as well. Let me share this. There's absolutely no better feeling than being loved by your family, and I feel that absolutely all the time. And I certainly have my own family, relatives from North Carolina, my intimate family, and obviously the families of this wonderful university and the athletic department. But I have to share some stories about my family. About a month ago, I got this incredible text message from my son, Donovan. It is so good, I've had it printed out. I'm going to give it to Melissa because I want it on my gravestone. It is so unbelievably loving from my son. One of my favorite Michelle Dorrance stories is back in the old days when I coached the men and women, usually through the course of a weekend, I would win at least one game. On this particular day, my men had lost, my women had lost. It was not a good day. And as anyone in the coaching profession will tell you, you just wear your losses. You are reviewing every mistake you made during the practice week because you burned their legs out. You are reviewing every substitution mistake. You are reviewing every mistake you made. I am playing snakes and ladders with Michelle on the evening after losing a men's game that day and a women's game that day. And of course, snakes and ladders is a dice game. You roll the dice, and if you hit a ladder, you move up. If you hit a snake, you move down. And so I'm rolling the dice, and all of a sudden, I'm distracted. I'm not really paying attention to the game. And all of a sudden, I roll the dice, and I've won the game, and Michelle bursts into tears. She's about 12 years old, and she says, "Daddy, I just wanted you to win something today." So, Michelle, thank you for that extraordinary memory of your love to try to let me finish at least 1-1-1 on that particular, basically, you understand what I'm trying to say, so thank you for that. And also, Natalie is wonderful. I love Natalie. She's producing a whole collection of grandkids for me. She's got her 2 twin babies. We call them meatballs. In fact, I'm thinking of sending the larger meatball to Mac Brown as an offensive lineman eventually. So we're very excited about that potential. I also love Finley, who plays every sport under the sun and knows more about the EPL than I do. He quizzes me on the English Premier League. He knows who plays where, when they got into the league, whether or not this player is faster than that player. I fail every test he gives me, and I love having him here as well. But the thing I absolutely love about Natalie is back when I was the women's national coach, I decided they offered me an opportunity to coach full-time for the United States. I'd been coaching the national team for 8 years, and honestly, I never wanted to leave Carolina. So I basically told them that I wasn't interested. I was going to stay at UNC. And when I resigned, I called home, and I let Melissa know that I was resigning the U.S. Full-team position, and I was going to basically dedicate myself to coaching here at the University of North Carolina. And here's what I absolutely love. Apparently, Melissa shared this with Natalie, and all of a sudden she starts tearing up, and she said, "Mom, does this mean Daddy's not going to be famous anymore?" So at every opportunity, when anything rolls my way, I either text or call Natalie, and I say, "Hey, Natalie, still famous." So I want to thank Mr. Stevens for being here for this wonderful event for me. I want to thank Bubba for taking the huge risk to build this thing for me. I want to thank Chancellor Guskowitz for supporting me fully, because I could certainly feel that. For Heather O'Reilly, one of the all-time greats, to be here, and all the others that are here that I absolutely treasure. I also want to embrace Bill Palladino, my longtime assistant, who decided to step back, because a lot of what was done here obviously went right through him. But for me, it's all about family. I also want to let Roy know that that wonderful occasion on Friday night when he tricked me to come so that he could honor me at late night with Roy was something I will remember for the rest of my life, certainly for that honor, but also for the things he always says about me, which I absolutely cherish. So Roy, thank you. I also want to publicly thank Mac Brown, who's given my wife and I a sideline pass. And the first time I've ever used it was at the Clemson game, and I couldn't believe how extraordinary that was. So I want him to know how much I appreciate that. So I want to finish with this. I want to turn around and point to that sign back there, and I want to say, Natalie, where are you? Natalie, where are you? There you are. Hey, Natalie, still famous. Thank you very much.
Wow. Imagine that. Lucky guy. I don't know how you won 22 national championships. Just be lucky, I guess. Congratulations. What a career. What a legacy. And the relationships you've built are just absolutely phenomenal. And a couple of years ago, I remember you and Coach Williams sitting down and trading stories about your intramural days and about both of you starting here at the same time. And I really appreciate Coach Williams being here today to celebrate this great occasion for Anson. Coach, thank you very much. People talk about significance and success. And I thought Ashlyn Harris said yesterday or Friday night when she talked about, the difference is, you don't compete for trophies. You don't teach about trophies. You teach about people. And the people that represent this program are extraordinary. And we have one of those here today who would like to say a few words as well. Please welcome Heather O'Reilly.
I'm Heather O'Reilly, and I'm a Tar Heel. So I'm here to represent the players, past and present, and what a huge honor it is for me to be able to talk about Anson Dorrance. About 18 years ago, Anson, you and I were up on that balcony at McCaskill Soccer Center. You're in full-blown pitch mode, trying to get me to come. And we looked over this field, and you asked me if I wanted to be a Tar Heel. And I looked over at those blue signs for the national championships, and I said, I think you're going to need to get a bigger sign because I want to come here and I want to win here. And you said, come on board. And I think that ability that you have to inspire people, especially young women, ages, 18 to 22, it is incredibly powerful. And that's why you have Ashlyn coming back. That's why you have Crystal Dunn coming back. You have all these alums coming back because what you do means something. It means something so deep to all of us. I'm going to tell a story about my freshman year. I came in as a freshman, #1 recruit, very highly regarded player, but I came in with an injury. I had a broken leg at that time. It was the first time that I ever sort of had like a crisis of confidence, and to be honest, I never thought that I was going to be the same player that I was ever again. And Anson took care of me, and he put his arm around me and told me that they've got me. And I'll remember that support forever and ever. And it goes so much farther than just, soccer. So actually, I got engaged on this field. My husband, Dave, and I were on the blue track, running around the track. Anson and Dino and the guys were watching the whole thing go down from McCaskill, peeking through the windows. And that just goes to show you how deep these relationships are. That, for our engagement. And then later for my wedding, Anson was there. And that's a funny story about Crystal Dunn as well. Essentially, Anson and Dino try to come to everybody's wedding because, as obviously we know, we mean a lot more to them as just players. And I got married in the fall, and it unfortunately was a weekend that the Heels were playing both Miami and Florida State. So he originally said he could come to my wedding. He was going to go down to Miami, come back, go down to Florida State. But in 2012, the team didn't start off so hot. And so Anson pulls me aside the week of my wedding and tells me that, it's a disaster start to the season. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make the wedding. So Crystal and I have this running joke to the day that she saw me put on my sunglasses because I was a little bit watery-eyed, that Anson was telling me that he couldn't come to my wedding. And Crystal brings a lot of the players together. Some of them right here might remember it. And she goes, Anson, if we beat Miami, will you come up and go to Heather's wedding? Because we know that'll mean a lot to her. And Anson said, of course. So Crystal rallied the troops, got the big W, and then Anson and Dino could come to the wedding. I think that just shows you how loyal he is, how much he means to all of us. It goes so much deeper than just the sport. Anson, you teach us to be better humans. I'm so happy to be part of this family. Thank you for being a wonderful mentor to me. What an honor it is for me to be joining your staff. There's no better person to learn from, but I hope that you feel the love and the loyalty today, because you've shown it to us through all these years of all the text messages and the notes and the inspiring messages when we maybe need it the most. So thank you, Anson. On behalf of all of the current and former Tar Heels, we love you very much.
Heather, thank you so much. Anson, again, congratulations. And one of my all-time favorite quotes is, "You cannot live a perfect day until you help someone that has no chance to repay you." The significance that you have imparted on your team and those for other generations, from Mia to all the other players that are mentioned through Heather and Crystal, those are generations of women and young girls and kids that will never have a chance to repay you. There's nothing more fitting, in my opinion, than to name this field for you because of the generations of young women that you have helped. To have it here on this campus where you said you've lived your entire life, from Teague Dorm and the pride you take in the intramural championships, to the law school, to the blood on the field, we could not be more happy that you're a loyal son of the University of North Carolina. We'll dedicate this game today to this field, and I know you'll do the same thing the last time you played in a dedication game for another team by beating their tails soundly. Congratulations, go Heels.